What's going on, hungry hunters? So over the past little while, we've noticed that Monster Hunter World has regained a resurgence of sorts because people are playing it again. So we want to put this video saying what we hate about Monster Hunter World for anybody new jumping into it, or even the older players who have played this game and who want to disagree with us. So before we jump into today's discussion video, yes, this is brand new for our channel. So if you're new here, make sure to leave some comments down below of how much you dislike us, because it's going to be a normal thing. No. You'll see.
Okay, so first off, if you want to play with your friends, it's hard because you have to, that whole cutscene thing, it kind of breaks it up apart, breaks the whole experience to pieces. That's what I found when playing with Andy. It was just weird. And it was kind of time consuming. If anything, time consuming.
What I would say is, especially for people who are looking to play with friends or expecting Monster Hunter World to be a multiplayer game, it breaks you up into all of these like single player quests and stuff where you end up doing your own thing. And I remember you mentioned about this when you first started playing with your friends, you had to go break up and do your own quests where it almost felt like you weren't even playing with each other anymore. Or in fact, some people couldn't do the quest, or people just couldn't figure it out when they're just starting Monster Hunter. And it ended up being very discouraging because, you wanted this to be a multiplayer game. And it just didn't end up being one.
All right, so the next one that we're going to bring it up, the unnecessary animations. Okay, so I'm talking about, the hub maiden picking up the book and things like creating armor pieces and weapons as well, where they kind of show you the weapon. Honestly, these are like unnecessary animations that kind of get tired. It's cool from the beginning, but then it's just like, okay, what's going on? Yeah, you can't skip it. They actually had to put in a button to make it to speed up that lifting up the book. Yeah, I feel like I'm wasting my time.
I have nothing to add to that. That is correct. Next up, I got big maps. So I appreciate the big maps in World, don't get me wrong. I like the ecology, I like all the little nuances here and there. But the problem I find with it is that you don't remember the map whatsoever. Right, you get lost in it, and most of it, and truthfully, coming from a Monster Hunter game like Rise or even like GU, it is very overwhelming. There's a lot of stuff going on, and like you can't you can't even find the monster half the time. You don't know what's happening during the game, and I think you're just following the scout flies. You don't even know really where you're going. I think other Monster Hunter games, you actually begin to learn the map. I think when it comes to World, you're following the scout flies most of the time, and you don't even know where you are. You're literally just kind of navigating through it. So you're not enjoying as much.
It's almost like you're following a GPS. If you've been following a GPS for the longest time, you kind of miss out on a lot of things, and I understand what you mean. Oh, I think for me more so, it's just a lot of them are too vertical. If anything, it's hard to read the map. I always get lost. I never know. I'll be like, where am I? Where's the monster? I'm literally standing on top of the marker, and I'm just like, okay, what level am I supposed to go? I think that was the biggest thing. I'm always lost in that sense.
This is one I really want to talk about. This is one I really want to talk about. The dullness of the game. The dullness of the game. And when I say dullness of the game, I mean things like going from a game like GU, where the monsters were very colorful. Very, very colorful. The maps were very, very vibrant. Everything in World just seems very lackluster. It just seems dull in comparison. And I don't know if it's because of the settings I have on my computer, but I think truthfully, everything just seems washed out. All the colors on monsters just don't seem very like vibrant until you get to like, I don't know, Raging Breaky or something, or like Xenojiva, where like they're supposed to be luminescent, I guess. The switch to something that's more like Souls-like or like more lifelike, I think takes away a lot of the goofiness and the silliness of the game. When I say the dullness, I don't just mean the color. I also mean things like the flexing animations and like the silly little things that used to come in like older Monster Hunter that made it feel like a Monster Hunter game. Change isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just seems like, again, these are the things we don't like about Monster Hunter World, right? It's a very serious game in terms of Monster Hunter series.
Yeah, it's almost like it kind of changed the whole spirit of what Monster Hunter was. Coming from somebody who's coming from old Monster Hunter and entering World, the very first time I played it back in, I don't know, what was that, 20 something? It was such a huge change. Change is not bad, but it wasn't something that I was looking forward to, I guess, or expecting. Yeah. All right, so here's one thing that bothers me the most. Yeah, probably the biggest thing out of this is the weapons. Why do the weapons all look the same?
Oh, that was my next one too.
Oh, okay. In Monster Hunter, that's the one thing that I always look forward to are the weapon designs and also the obviously armor, but we're specifically talking about weapons. They all look the same. If anything, it changes the color. There's not much in terms of weapon design, and they changed some weapons that are
like Jan Garuga.
Right.
Bring back my Jan Garuga hammer. Bring it back. Yeah, but to go off on Kat's point, the weapons are just very rehashed things. Like if you go from like I think it was like, what is it? Like Diablo's hammer from like a Cthulhu hammer, whatever. They don't seem very creative compared to like older Monster Hunter games. Or in comparing some to like even like Rise weapons. Like Rise weapons are very creative in terms of like the way that they're designed and whatnot as well. The only creativity I really see from like a lot of these designs come from like, I don't know, like flagships of like Nergigante or like even Xeno'jiiva, like that kind of thing. Most of the designs are very basic. So this one, I don't know if Kat's gonna talk about as much, but I hate the RNG drops. So for anybody who's starting first Monster Hunter, jewels are something you're gonna be using basically to get skills on your set. The issue is a lot of it comes out to RNG, and certain quests give you certain ones or won't give you at all, and I hate it. I think I'd rather be guaranteed at least materials that you can trade in. Even if it takes like, I don't know, 20 of a certain material, at least you're guaranteed to get it. You beating the quest and then getting nothing from it is a terrible feeling. The RNG of that is absolutely true. Weapons, sure, yeah, you can go, a little bit further. But jewels, even to this day, I still see comments in our videos saying, I've still never gotten this jewel. I've still never gotten this. I've still never gotten to my set or whatever it is. So yeah, don't get me wrong, PC players can mod their stuff in, but I feel bad for people who are playing on like Xbox or PlayStation. Like you can't be doing that stuff. You just got to play the game, right? And so RNG drops, I think, are very stupid design. Something I definitely hate. She doesn't make sets, so she doesn't speak on it. I have one more. It's funny because it's not even part of the game, but it's something I don't like. For all the new players out there, don't worry about the fans. Don't worry about listening to people talking about the meta. Don't worry about talking about the best weapon. Don't worry about people talking about how to play the game or the wrong way to play the game. Don't get me wrong. Yes, there's optimal ways to play the game, and it may make it harder for you if you play the game, but play it however you like. Don't worry about that. Look, old Monster Hunter games didn't have numbers. They didn't have damage numbers. They didn't have that, or nothing you could see right away anyways when you're hitting the monster. I really do think the fact that now you see the numbers when you're hitting a monster has created this dopamine effect where people just try to get it looking for a bigger number over and over and over again. And the presence of meta is now a really big thing. Now, don't get me wrong. Meta has always been a thing when it comes to Monster Hunter, right? People always try to optimize their sets and whatnot as well. But I think it's gotten to the point now where people try to emphasize it over everything else. Look, if people want to play a certain way, let them play a certain way. Right? For all the new people, don't worry about listening to the best sets and stuff. You're still going to get through the game, minus a few things later on, like Elatrion or Fatalis, where you actually need to optimize stuff. But most of the time, just play the way that you want to play. The fandom can be a little toxic at times, especially if they're telling you this is the best game ever. If you don't like this game, like Nergigante is the best Elder Dragon, just things like that as an example. But don't worry about it. Play the game however you like to play the game. Now, look, I know a lot of you guys are probably raging. You're probably raging gamers. Rage gaming? Let's talk about what we did enjoy about the game. All right. There are a lot of things that once I think you get past the certain parts of the game that aren't so fun, they become fun. Things like the actual hunting part. Okay, the actual hunting part can be good. The combat is amazing. The combat feels incredible. The weapon feels like heavy. It feels like it's a heavy hit compared to even something like Rise, right? Like it's more satisfying to hit a monster in World compared to hitting a monster in Rise. It actually feels like you're doing something to the monster.
Now, I main Swax. I don't play anything else. And that's okay, all right, everyone? And I find that I enjoy the Swax in World out of everything, other Monster Hunters that I've played in the past. Even Rise. Though Rise has its own thing, what I like about the Swax there, I do like the feel of it, the movement of it. I felt like I had to get good at the weapon, and it made me feel like I'm an actual Swax main. So
there's also something I also really like about the game, truthfully, the fashion. The fashion is actually pretty good in World. Like you could tell they took a lot of time to make the armor and the way it looks, the flow of the armor. I don't like the color changing system of the armor sets. A little funky. But outside of that, the armors look great. Like the armor and the fashion that you can actually get from all these pieces is amazing. I wish I had a little more customization, but pretty good.
No, I find that in Monster Hunter World, it's for the female characters, it could be quite.
That's every game.
Yeah, you know what I was gonna say, but you're right. You're right. It's in every game.
That I'm not blaming Monster Hunter World for that one. That's every game. That's every game. I don't know why you wearing a bra gives you more armor than you wearing a full thing, but whatever. That's not. It's not up to me. So other thing I do also really like about World is the giant lobbies. When you get to a certain point in the game, you can have lobbies of up to 16 people lobbies. It's amazing, right? Like people can throw up quests left and right. The siege quests I don't really enjoy, but I guess it's a cool mechanic when you have like a bunch of people in it. It's cool to be able to have a community that you can hunt with. It's something kind of really enjoy when we first started playing on stream with many people. And it's something you don't get when you're playing Rise, or it's something you don't get when you're playing GU. Yes, you have to work a little bit more together in older games, before like World, because the quests get really, really difficult. Outside of that though, the lobbies though feel great. You get to see everybody in real time. They're doing their own thing, and you see all the quests are also posting up as well.
It just felt like you're actually part of a hunting guild. And I think that's the greatest thing that Monster Hunter World has brought. It's more of a community of hunters. Rather, beforehand, I don't know. I guess Rise, I'm not too sure about the feel of Rise, but beforehand, it just felt like you and possibly just your friends. The huge lobbies I really like and enjoyed. Stop. This is... but yes.
The last thing I want to talk about in terms of the things I really like about this game is the difficulty of certain monsters. I actually did not enjoy it at the beginning because I thought it was really dumb, but it was one of those get good situations. It really teaches you. I don't think the pacing of the game is great, but I do love certain fights and certain hunts. Name like Elatrion. Like I hated him at first, start to love him. You start to love him at the end.
Specifically Elatrion, I know we could dive into that a little bit more later. Yeah, there comes to a certain point where you really have to just get good at your weapon choice, learning how to use items that you probably haven't been using before. Other things like even working together if you are somebody who likes to play with other people as well.
Last thing I would like to say as well, we like the game now. We like the game after Endgame, weirdly enough, and we heard the same thing because we've enjoyed Monster Hunter games from the beginning rather than waiting till the end. Just a different pacing, and I think it's because this is such a new take on Monster Hunter. Not necessarily a bad thing, the fact that it's a new take on Monster Hunter, but because it's so different, coming from a different game or coming from a different Monster Hunter game, you expect the same thing. And I think that's what really changed our perspective of it, or like really had us really not enjoying the game at first, and the fandom. That's probably one thing too. So if you're a new player jumping into Monster Hunter, if it is your first Monster game, you will love the game. If you're an older Monster Hunter player, then you expect me all the way to play, you might not like it as much. But also, if this is your first Monster Hunter game and you go play other Monster Hunter games, don't call those other ones trash, because those are the ones that gave life to this one, right? Like, and even things like Rise or Sunbreak, like there's such a big discussion between which game is better and like which does what better. There should be another video altogether. But look at each game as a separate entity, and I think that's something we should have done when we first started playing the game as well. But now we do enjoy the game. We love the game. We love just picking it up. It's a very easy pick up and play now. At the beginning, not so much. So let us know what you guys hated about Monster Hunter World and what you guys loved about Monster Hunter World. Also, leave any comments down below of what you want the next discussion video is going to be. We already have a few ideas. We would love to hear from you.
And as always, stay hungry. Leave a like and subscribe as well. So I missed one thing. It's the endemic life. I like catching them and the rare ones. Yes, and putting it in my room. Oh, that's the one thing, the room. I kind of like the room because you get to customize and stuff like that. It's kind of like cozy.
Very out of place, but okay.
And that is all.
Very out of place.